So this one, if you look at the TPU versus PLA, you can see how much more rigid that is. From what I've seen, this one will print TPU better than any of the four here, by far. I was hoping that this one would print TPU, but honestly, it doesn't seem to do that good of a job at all. It does great for PLA. I did order some carbon fiber nylon and a few other things, and this one's supposed to do that. But this one does say that it has a all metal hot end. This one is a true all metal hot end. You can get it up to 300 degrees Celsius. This one you can't quite go as high because there is actually a piece of a Bowden tube that's, that long. And you can get all metal Bowden tubes to go in them, but I've seen where people have had problems with them, so I'm a little bit leery of that. I think what I'm going to do is this one will just be my TPU printer. So when I need to print TPU, I'm just going to print it on this one because it seems to be the most reliable when it comes to that. So this printer, when I first got it, was an absolute nightmare. This is the second SV04 that I bought. The first one I returned after scratching the living daylights out of the print surface multiple times trying to get it to work. When I got this one in, it actually worked pretty well. After I went through a weird procedure to get the bed leveled and do all this weird crap to make it work. The bed is just wavy. It's not flat like you would think it would be. That's where this one I think does kind of shine because it's actually a hard surface. Where these are flexible, this one's small enough that really you don't even have to worry about the level. It's just a smaller print volume. This one, once you level the bed, it's a hard bed and it's flat. So it's I think some kind of glass. And from what I could see, this one, you could level to the 5 places and then the center, and it was pretty much right on the money everywhere you went. This one has this little sensor, and after you level it, and the first time I did it, I had no idea what I was doing, and I got a good print off of this thing pretty much right off the bat, because it actually has this sensor and it'll figure out where to go from there. This one is supposed to do that, and it's hit and miss. So once I got this one running, it's been a fantastic printer. I cannot really complain about it so far. I like the printer. I'm glad I've got it, but for a first printer, it was a nightmare to set up. So I'd be very careful about this one. I do like the fact that your SD card is right here on this printer, and it's right here on this printer. It's easy to get to. This one is right here, and it's a mini or a micro SD. And the very first time I tried to use it, I dropped the micro SD into where all the circuit board and everything is down here. Ended up having to flip it over, take it apart, get that micro SD back out of it, and all of that kind of stuff. It was aggravating, and I think they should do better when it comes to that. I mean, I guess if you're looking for a cheap fix, it does work, but you've got to be more careful. I've never had a problem here, and this one, if you look at where the bed goes, how are you going to get to that thing? That's kind of stupid. So the Creality, you can buy this little box, and I think it was like 50 or 60 bucks for this and a camera, and I actually print to this one more from the box and with an app on my phone, and it was really easy to set up. It was really easy to get going. This worked really well, and I'm probably going to end up taking this one to work. I need one in my office at work to print little different odds and ends, so I think I'm going to take this one to work, because even if I'm at home, I can start a print using this when I'm at work. What I'd like to do is get Octofarm or Octoprint, where I can control all 3 of these printers at home as well. Now on to this thing. So this is a 3D scanner, and honestly, the reason I bought this is I wanted to be able to scan something, like say I wanted to scan this and make a 3D model of it to where I could use this to make, say I wanted to make a new one of these. I wanted to be able to 3D scan that part and recreate it with a 3D printer, or scan this part and make a new part, or really something like a Chevy 350 engine. I wanted to scan the front of a Chevy 350 to where if I wanted to make brackets for different things, I could use this to get the model in. Once I got the model in, then I could build the brackets around that. So that was the idea, and that's what you see people doing. The problem is I haven't figured out how to do that yet. So if you want to scan something with this and then just immediately 3D print that part, it does good. It works fine. I scanned a friend of mine's head and 3D printed a full version of his head to mess with his wife, and I was really impressed. It did a great job. The problem is it exports as a PLY, an OBJ, or an STL. None of those, I use SolidWorks, none of those are really usable from what I can tell in SolidWorks, other than just importing like a graphic. And that's really all they do, and it really sucks. So $800 later, it's a novelty, unfortunately. They really need to come up with a way to go from an STL to a step file or an OBJ or whatever those other two file formats are. I need a step file. I need something that I can use to scan a part and engineer something onto it. That was the whole reason I bought it. I kept it, but I'm not impressed so far. It's very clunky. I've scanned a few things in and it did really well, and I've scanned a few things and it sucked. So for $800, I've got buyer's remorse. I probably shouldn't have bought it. I probably should have went to a more expensive scanner. The problem is the next step up, I think, is like 10 to 30 grand. So novelty, neat. If you're going to 3D print something after you scan it, this is fine. If you're going to do anything else that I was hoping to do with this, the reverse engineering parts, the using it to get a 3D model to make something to work with that part that you've got. I was looking at scanning car parts, scanning machinery to get bracketry and things like that into a 3D modeling software. My understanding is Fusion 360 will do some of that a little better than SolidWorks, which is stupid because SolidWorks is, I think we paid 20 grand for our copy of SolidWorks, but that's something to think about. So yeah, that's just a quick review of all of these. If I had to pick one, that's the clear winner over all of them. However, this gives you dual extruding options, just like this one does, which was why I bought both of these originally. But as far as this one has that light, which, believe it or not, is really handy. But you also pay a premium. If you just want to get into it and you want to get into it cheap, I really don't think you can beat this one. Get you started good, works great. But the downside to these two versus these two is these are direct drive. You're going to have a little bit less issues out of them. But the Bowden tube does print faster than these do. You have more mass here that it's slinging back and forth, where this one is a lot lighter. And obviously that one's very light compared to those. So yeah, there you go. Hope that helps somebody. If you have any questions, drop a comment and I'll try to answer them. Have a good day.